Okay, this is different. I'm going to do a rant. Come straight out. It's a rant. It's a rant about active speakers and why I don't like them, or maybe even trust them. Let's just start with the amplifier part of an active speaker. Most of the time, we have no clue as to what it is, what's lurking inside there. They might say it's a Class C amplifier, which is almost always what it is, right? But we don't know who designed it, where it came from. We just have a power rating, it's 100 watts or something. But other than that, we know nothing. And I think part of being an audiophile, as opposed to just say an average person or a music lover, we care about who designed things. I buy this kind of amplifier because I like power sound amplifiers. I buy this one because I like Mark Levinson amplifiers, because of what they are. And when you buy an active speaker, you're surrendering to the unknown of whatever. I guess they thought it worked, right? Speaker companies' expertise is designing speakers, not electronics, with exceptions. But for the most part, they're speaker companies. They live in that world. And to do an active speaker, they have to partner with a company that supplies a module or DSP to work with their speaker. And I think that's part of the problem, is that do these two companies or their engineers talk to each other in the same language in terms of what their goals are? Well, I wanted to have this crossover, I wanted to do this, yeah, and it needs to have 3 inputs, and yeah, those kind of discussions are easy. I'm talking about maintaining the company's sound. Because the guy or lady who designs a woofer or a tweeter or a crossover, that's what they do. They don't really, pardon the expression, cross over to designing electronics. And that back and forth between the speaker company and those other companies out there, I've seen it happen again and again where it's not, the marriage isn't exactly ideal. But I am hung up on that amplifier. Because look at an amplifier like a Parasound A21. Can that fit inside a speaker? No. Unless it's a really, really big speaker, right? You know, it's just funny to think about amplifiers as we think of them fitting inside speakers. They don't. Power supply, huge, you know, heat sinks. No, that doesn't fit inside a speaker. So I'm highly suspect, let's put it that way, about these electronics that are going inside active speakers and who made them and how they work with, how they play well with the speaker design itself. I've had limited experience. The first, as a reviewer, the first generation KEF wireless speaker, I had it here for a while. I couldn't get over the user interface, so I didn't review it because I felt uncomfortable just using the thing. And supposedly the new version is a lot better in terms of user interface. But in terms of what it sounded like here versus a passive LS50, so they're more or less two of the same speakers. And I guess there were things that I felt the wireless version, the active version, did better. But it was more expensive, and I'd rather just roll my own. It's funny to think about it that speaker companies, Wilson Audio, Magico, Bowers & Wilkins, Harbeth, Vandersteen, the list goes on and on, audiophile-oriented speaker companies, they haven't made that leap. I think they see their market as audiophiles who want to buy amplifiers that they choose. This is also fundamental to where this is. Now, there's new upstart companies like Buckhart, who has their new active speaker that everyone's raving about. I haven't heard it. I have no opinions about it. But apparently, it's very well received in the reviewer universe, and that's fine. I like the company. Nice people. Don't you want to roll your own? You're sort of giving yourself over to the speaker company and saying, here, just have your way with me and just give me the speaker as a complete thing. Well, the good part is that you don't have to think. It's all done for you, and maybe that's what people want. And of course, there's less boxes, less clutter, less wires, and those are good things for a lot of people. I understand. But those things are outside the purview of being an audiophile, where you want to make your sound. I like tubes, I like solid state, I like Class A, I like Class D. et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You want to control it. That's the way I think of, well, the way we think about building a system. So that surrendering to some person out there, entities out there to design the sound, I just feel, as you might have picked up on it by now, uncomfortable with that notion. And then there's the question of, okay, these electronics are living inside the speaker enclosure. It's a very noisy, we talk about noise, computer noise in DACs and stuff, but there's a lot of noise, sound inside the speaker enclosure that's now shaking, literally, the amplifier that's inside the cabinet, right? Can that be good? Is that a good thing? We put our amps on isolators and springs and platforms and stuff. Here we are putting it, shoving it inside this incredibly loud, because whatever the sound is in your room, it's a hell of a lot louder inside that confines of the speaker enclosure. Is that good? Is that a good thing? Is that something that an amplifier designer would say, yes, I want my speaker to be in 100 dB shaking environment on a regular basis? Not that it would hurt it, just that how it would change the sound of the electronics. I would question that. I am questioning that. And then there's a question, unrelated to that part I just said, as to, well, what happens when the amplifier craps out? Just send the whole speaker back, or speakers back to the manufacturer to get it serviced. That's a concern. Amplifiers do have issues from time to time, relatively rare with well-designed electronics, but still, it's a concern. And then there's the DSP, the digital signal processing, where the signal may go into the speaker as analog from your source, let's say a turntable, but then it has to get converted to digital and then routed through the DSP instead of a traditional passive crossover. Well, first of all, the A to D part, if as that speaker ages, you got that old A to D converter stuck inside there. The DSP conversions and processing to do the crossover, you're stuck with those. So as the speaker is 5 years old and 10 years old, and there's lots of better ways of doing that, you're stuck with that now out-of-date DSP that's stuck inside your speaker. That makes me uncomfortable. I'm not really articulating this part as well as I should, but you get the gist where I'm coming from. You're stuck with whatever it is in there, and I'm sure some of them are updatable, etc. But the basic electronics are in there, and they're not going anywhere, right? Just before I turned on the camera, I checked my review briefly of the Andrew Jones designed ELAC Navis speaker. It's an active speaker, but it's different from what I just described. There's no DSP, right? It's a pure analog active speaker. So analog signal goes in, it stays analog. That's good. I like that. And the amplifiers, as far as I can understand, there's three, because it's a tri-amp system, are AB amplifiers. AB, well, let's just call it pure AB for the tweeter, and for the mid-range and woofer, a bash switching power supply with a class AB power stage. So that's one of the reasons I agreed to do that review, and I like that speaker, and I liked Andrew Jones, and that was sort of a way in to active without some of the downsides. Still, the amplifiers are still stuck inside that box, and if they have service issues, those are still there. So, wouldn't be a speaker I would buy. Not for me. I like passive speakers, and I like having amplifiers and electronics outside the speaker enclosure. So there you have it. I think I've said my piece about my feelings about active speakers. Now, of course, some of you are going to feel exactly the opposite. You think active speakers are the best things ever. You're so happy not to deal with passive speakers anymore. Tell us all about it in the comments section below. And if you're on my side of the fence, the passive side, so to speak, I'm not the most passive person, but in this sense, I prefer the passive speaker to the actives. Share your thoughts as to why you're on the passive side, the non-active speaker side of the argument here. And that's it. That's all I got. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This continues to be the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I do, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much for doing so. Appreciate it. You can also check out the Patreon at patreon.com/audiophiliac, and I'll link to that below. Hey, you're here. Be here now. Check out, if you don't want to leave so fast, hang out a bit, check out the playlist. There's playlists for speaker reviews and headphone reviews and electronics reviews and even music reviews, plus interviews with so many incredible people, including Andrew Jones. So with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. So thank you again for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.